I'm your mother. David, wake up.
The oil.
There's a Father and a Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
To the left. I'm doing that. Just get up. My God, get up.
Yo. What's good, fuckers?
We back.
Part 2
We
of
back.
episode 10 of The Conjuring 3.
We're doing The Conjuring. Devil Made Me Do It. We've already got one part out that does the plot breakdown, talks about the characters, talks about some things we loved. Just talk about that film now that it's fresh in everyone's minds, that's out, streaming, theaters, all that good stuff.
We rated it 2. I'd probably say between between both of us, we rated it a 3. Not saying that it was bad, but it was...
Justin acts like 3 is a bad rating out of 5.
Oh, okay.
He does. It's a 6 out of 10 on a out of 10 scale if you think about it.
Yeah.
He thinks it's like a 3 out of 10, which is not. But yeah, so thank you if anyone's watched our first episode. So this second episode, we're going to talk more about the court case that was presented in The Conjuring 3. Trying to break that down and what was shown in the film, what was talked about in the film, and obviously there's a lot of fabrication in the movie. But we'll talk about that in more detail. And then we're kind of going to touch on the real life events of Conjuring 2 and Conjuring 1. So we did some research on it, and we got some exciting stuff to talk about in this part right here. But before we do...
Oh, God. Whew, I gotta be ready for this.
This one's still pretty full.
Okay, I just opened a new one, so...
All right, Justin.
Cheers, bro.
Cheers. Another episode. Oh, God. It's so much easier to chug it when it's not fucking cold. It's so much easier when it's not cold.
It's hard as shit.
Oh, yeah. Well, like, think about trying to chug, like, carbonated drinks, like a Sprite or a Coke. That gets you. That'll get you.
Oh, fuck.
But we're going to break down this court case. The Devil Made Me Do It case, as it's known as. So, Justin, are you all right looking around? Justin's, like, looking around like there's a ghost or something in here.
I was trying to be funny with the motorcycle that was outside.
I don't even know if they heard that.
They might have.
I don't know.
But not probably. If they haven't, I probably look like I was possessed.
Yeah, Justin's just looking around like, ooh.
Yeah.
All over the man, so we just did some research on this case, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna be honest, these cases like weird me out. Like they freak me out.
Yeah.
Like even though it's like the movies are 100% true to them, they freak me out.
Yeah. I think I mentioned this. To me, what's most scary is when something can be real or is real and that happened. Like, in the fact that all 3 Conjurings are based on the true story.
Yeah, like, and the best way to kind of say that also is like not, they say based on true events, right? It almost feels like you've seen movies that do what? Inspired by true events, is that right? So.
Inspired and based are 2 completely different things.
Bingo.
So, the fact that this is based on a true story is wild. And what made me want to research these, and we'll talk about it, was the tapes at the end of 2 and 3. I don't remember if they did it in the first. Did they show tapes of the first one?
I'd honestly have to go back and look, because when I watch them, like the credits in the first one is still very eerie, but I don't think there's anything like in Conjuring 2, right? We get the daughter. We hear her tapes while she's possessed by the Bill Wilkins spirit. It's like it's an 11-year-old girl that sounds like, or however old she is. That may not be exactly accurate, but she's a young girl and she's talking like a 70-year-old man. It's terrifying.
Yeah,
because it sounds like you almost hear like voice overlay, right?
It sounds real as fuck too, yo. And like, in the second movie, they mentioned that is when they were the priest or whatever. I don't know if it was somebody at the church was playing the tapes for Ed and Lorraine.
Yep.
To try to get them to go to England, because the church didn't want to put their name on something that was not wasn't real, right?
Yeah.
So they wanted to make sure that they weren't faking it.
Needed evidence for an exorcism.
So they were playing the tapes to him, and the father, of the church says, "So what do you think? How's this guy sound? How's this sound?" Ed goes, "Well, he sounds pretty senile." The priest goes, "Well, that's not an old man."
Ed says that's not an old man.
No. The priest, because he thought it was an old man. Ed thought it was an old man.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
And the priest said, "No, that's an 11 or 9-year-old girl, however old she was in that movie." But and the fact that they played it at the end of Conjuring 2, I don't know.
It was the tapes, right? That they were
showing? And the fact, what's creepy is I don't know anybody at that age who can do those types of voices. There's a lot of voiceover actors.
It really did sound like two voices on top of each other.
You think so?
That's what's creepy to me.
Yeah. I don't know anybody who could fake, it's hard enough for real life voiceover actors to fake something like that right now.
Yeah.
At that age, I don't know anybody of that age in this industry who can do that. It's absolutely tough, and that's absolutely wild to me. You know, so
exactly. And that kind of gets us to the tapes that were played at of the exorcism of the end of Conjuring 3, and The Devil Made Me Do It. You hear the possession that was David, the youngest son in the family. Those sound like him growling, stuff like that. That stuff is terrifying. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting in a theater and you could tell something was kicking up at the end of the movie, like an end credit thing. And my girlfriend Madison and I are sitting there and we're freaking out over how realistic it. Obviously it's the actual tapes that they're playing, and it's terrifying. That stuff that honestly scared me more than there were one or two things that scared me in the Conjuring 3, but that was that is so scary to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's the fact that it's real is what's creepy, right? It's not. I mean, so when you're watching a horror movie, things that are, what help make it scary are the soundtrack,
sound design,
filmed, how it's shot. But whenever you're can you imagine listening to that right now? If either Hannah or Madison, anybody, Brandon, whatever, Visa, whoever, came up to us and would have been like, "Yo, my younger cousin, they think he's possessed. Listen to this shit."
Yeah.
I would get goosebumps. I would get chills.
Yep.
I would I don't know what I would do in that situation. That's fucking scary.
Yeah.
Especially because it's real life, not a movie. One of the things that helps me with a horror movie is the fact that I know it's a movie.
Yeah, you can suspend disbelief. So, in this, when you hear that stuff, you're like, oh my god, this is what it actually was like to these people. And also that's a long time ago where this stuff isn't as they didn't have as they had horror movies, but they didn't have the ghost movies that we have as often as we do now,
right.
Or even just the media related to that stuff. So let's I kind of want to go into what was shown in The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, versus what was actually in the case, right? So, Arnie murdering his landlord, real thing that happened in real life. One of the differences that Debbie was present during the movie, his fiance, and she was not actually present during the actual killing.
The landlord was drunk.
Yeah, was drunk, which they kept that true.
But it wasn't he wasn't drinking in there. Mm-hmm. They had taken her out and her sisters out to pizza while he was drinking over there.
Yep, and you have the Warrens actually offered to help, which was another thing that's a little different. And a lot of The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It is fabricated for the case of the movie.
Yeah.
But some things obviously they did plead not guilty by demonic possession, which we talked about in our last episode. It had never been done in the U.S. before. The judge quickly dismissed that. And the jury, they got together over a course like 15 hours, I think it said, and eventually ultimately came to the decision of manslaughter, 10 to 20 years, due to self-defense.
But he only served 5 because of it. Like, and they said
because
that
of good behavior.
Yeah. But, so, Romo, the thing that baffles me is I know that the court accepts the faith of God, like under oath, and it's just automatically accepted. Why is this not a good self-defense if you're putting all your faith in God? Why isn't demonic possession a real thing? Like, why, you know what I mean? Like, why?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because we talked about this on our last episode where it's people, and I'm not comparing these two by any means, but people can plead not guilty by insanity. And that's, all those cases are different and how that happens. But you're right, like, I think the best way for me to answer that is to say, over hundreds of thousands of years of court cases, it has been it has been known to swear under oath. You swear, put your hand on the Bible, swear under God that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That has been that for ages.
Yeah.
It's never been presented in a court case to say, hey, like, there was something unworldly, an external force, like a demon or the devil,
or God,
that intervened. Well, that's not what I'm getting to, because I'm getting to what caused actions that were enforceable in the court case. All they're doing is swearing under God's name, where this case is saying my actions to harm another person were because of this external force. And Arnie is part of what he said in his defense is he didn't remember anything that had happened, and that's sworn under oath, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So I mean, the difference that you're asking is
they're both.
Well, no, because one, not really, because like you're saying in one instance, all you're doing is saying your word, God be the only one knowing that you're lying.
No.
But no one says that. No one's presented in court due to God's force. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Well, yeah. I was saying the God and the devil are both, like, the way people present it in court with God, or the way God. I'm not gonna get into this. We're not gonna get.
Well,
let's go to the next.
All I'm saying.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is you can't compare those two, because one is just being under oath.
Yeah.
And in this particular case, they were saying there were demonic forces that caused him to kill somebody, which no one's ever awarded something because they said the Lord drove me this way to do this good thing. Does that make?
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
I was trying to get at the fact that they were both unworldly, like you. It's.
But one is trying to use it as evidence against bad actions.
Yeah.
One is just saying, "Hey, I will not lie in court."
Yeah, I respect.
Very, very different.
Yeah.
Very different.
Okay. That's a very fair. Very fair.
So one thing we wanted to talk about in this was when we were researching it was David had said, Debbie actually told this to People magazine during the course of the case. She said David, the youngest son that was initially possessed, was saying that he saw a man with big horns, a thin face with animal features, jagged teeth, and basically looked like a beast.
So kids at that age, David's 11 in real life. They're gonna say shit.
So that was, we were kind of talking about this, and I really wanted to open up with this because kids are gonna say shit, but if a kid comes out and is saying like, hey dad, like my kid one day knocks on my door, he's like, Dad, I'm scared, and I'm like, what's wrong? He said, there's a man with a dark face, black horns, like a giant, like I think of the Annabelle demon, like being the tall black horn figure that we see in that movie with red eyes and jagged teeth. He's like, that's in my room. I say, hold on. Why are you getting so descriptive? One, why are we getting so descriptive about what this thing looks like? And like I would be terrified. Like I'd say I would be drawn aback. That's what I'm saying. Because like you say that you don't want to believe anything you're like the kids say. If it's like, oh, the kids will say the darndest things. That's what people say. Yeah, but if your kid is like, yeah, I have a imaginary friend, and like he said he's gonna hurt you and mommy. What am I gonna do? I'm terrified. We're out. We're moving. We're leaving. Something's happening. Like that stuff is weird to me.
Yeah. But kids do say some off-the-wall shit.
But do kids often say, I saw a man with big horns, thin face? Like, kids say some random stuff, right? But do the kids say, like, hey, I saw a demon, and they describe what the demon looked like, and then you're just like, no, oh, that's crazy. And then your kid's like, the whole time he's like, yeah, I saw a demon.
Guys, Romo's going to be, for real, and I mean this with the sincerest, like, of my 100% from the bottom of my heart. Romo's going to be a great father.
Because if my kid says, mainly because if my kid says there's a demon in his room.
That's not the reason. I for real think Romo's going to be a great dad.
The house will be on sale within that 24 hours.
Yeah. I get it. I mean, yeah.
But that being said, and like Debbie saying that to People Magazine, that's what's crazy. She was on record saying that stuff to People Magazine. And there's a lot of controversy over the family saying, hey, Ed and Lorraine fabricated a lot of this for fame and money. Which is a whole different argument, right?
That's Conjuring 2, right? So it was like...
That happens in a lot of their cases. A lot of their cases have had that people say, like, oh, they were doing this for fame and money. So you were saying for Conjuring 2.
There was a specific scene in Conjuring 2 at the beginning where they wanted to point that out as far as, like, the movies go, is that there was a guy, they were on this talk show, and Ed and Lorraine were on it, and there was this, I don't know who this other guy was, but he was on there too, like a guest or whatever, and he's like, oh, you're fucking lying, this and that, like he didn't say fucking, but he, like, you're lying, you know, I promise, and then Ed got really defensive, he's like, you're taking this as a hoax, this is all true, and he said there was actually like the interaction with them, it was actually awesome, because of how it was worded. I think the writing in 2 is great.
Yeah.
But it was something along the lines of, I've seen this levitate, or I don't know what he said, but he said Ed said something along the lines of like, it's real, I promise you. It was like a statement that made it real. And
to him,
to everybody. But the way the guy responded was, I think he's fuck.
But I think you can confidently say like what Ed was saying is not going to convince people that everything they do is real. But he was able to word stuff in the way that it was, and that's what a lot of people are like. Hey, like there's some people that are very close-minded and say, hey, with everything they did, it's just not going to it's not going to be real, no matter what y'all say and hoax about it. But with the court case, obviously a lot of the stuff that happened after we talked about the movie really doesn't touch on the court case a ton. We do see that Arnie is convicted of manslaughter. The movie almost makes it look, I'll be 100% honest with you, the movie makes it look like he's convicted of manslaughter because of what they found, right? It almost portrays it like that. It almost makes it look like, hey, we've proved the existence of the devil and a demon through the events in this movie, and Arnie is convicted of manslaughter and not first-degree murder because of that.
Oh yeah,
but in
real life, it was because he was acting in self-defense.
Yep.
Yeah,
and it's terrifying. He said, and it's similar. That's a similarity that the movie shows differently than what actually happened in real life. Maybe is. He said, I don't remember what happened. Like, he didn't remember killing his landlord. And that's what's crazy to me is this is something that actually happened, and this case actually happened. So that's what's so scary to me. And we talked about it in the last episode. There was 22 stabs that happened in the killing. We couldn't find any evidence of that, right, on our research?
No, it did, like,
We tried to find out why,
Yeah,
right?
the research said that the what's Bono? His name is Bono, the
Alan
landlord.
Bono.
Yeah, he died from 4 or 5 critical stab wounds, but we don't know if it was like it said 4 or 5, and I mentioned that, but the movie said 22, so he still could have been stabbed 22 times. He just probably just died from the 4 or 5 critical wounds.
Yeah.
And I also don't know. I meant to mention this in the last episode. I don't know what the meaning of the 22 stabbings were, because he was stabbed 22 times, and then Jessica, who was stabbed by the witch, or whoever, was also before she fell off the cliff. She was stabbed 22 times.
Yeah, so they didn't really touch on that. That goes back to kind of the writing. Some things felt unexplained in this movie. That was just one instance, and that's a great point, because I didn't know why. And it feels like you think about Conjuring 1, right? There's Ed comes in at one point and they're talking about, hey, there's knocks throughout the night, and there's knocks in threes. It's supposed to be an insult to the Trinity, the Holy Trinity. So like stuff like that is very. It almost felt incomplete, because James Wan was like, he's not going to put in a plot device without explaining that plot device. There were some unexplained plot devices in Conjuring 3. I think we can both say that.
Yep.
So I want to get into something real quick. Those tapes at the end, the judge rejected the demonic possession.
Yeah.
So do you think those tapes at the end could have been presented in any case, in any way in the case, if the judge, for some reason, I'm very hypothetical. Like, what if the judge was like, all right, well, that's your defense. If it's not a strong defense, then we're going to convict him of what the prosecutor is going for, right?
Okay.
And so what if they brought into the case as evidence those tapes? What do you think? Do you think the judge would have
I'm sure they
dismissed it also?
They had to have brought that.
Well, they didn't get to. No, they couldn't present it as evidence.
Why?
Because he dismissed it immediately. He dismissed that plea immediately.
In real life, too?
Yeah, in real life, as soon as they said not guilty by demonic possession, nothing was even discussed.
Oh, you couldn't even do anything with that?
No.
Then that's not fair.
I mean, that's never been. There's no court of law that says you can. They're like, we need a legal defense.
I think
there was no established defense there, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I think if I'm a judge or a juror,
well, your
thing is like, I would want to hear, like, especially as a juror, right? When you're in jury duty, your whole your like your action, like your the whole point of being on jury duty is to listen from both sides without any sort of favoritism towards one side.
Yes, but, and we're no lawyers here.
Yeah.
Don't get us wrong. But the judge's whole, as a judge, your whole career is based on, is stood up with whatever the plea is.
Uh-huh.
So like it'd be different if he pleaded not guilty by insanity.
Yeah.
It'd be extremely different. Which probably wasn't much of a thing. I don't know the history of this. I don't know how popular that was. I say popular, I mean how common that was as a plea back then.
Yeah.
But like the judge, like that was not commonplace. Like what if, now not by demonic possession, but what if you came in and said, I plead not guilty by this random reason.
Yeah.
The judge's like, you can't do that. You have to give a legal plea.
Yeah.
So I think that's why, because the jury has no say in that.
No, but okay. Well, even as a judge, don't you why are you so dismissive?
Because your entire career, your entire life's work depends on you. If you accept that, you could lose all your rights as a judge right then, right? Technically.
Could you?
Yeah. If you accepted that plea,
if you don't you don't hear them out.
Yeah.
Isn't your job as a judge is to hear both sides of the story?
But you also have to keep it within the course of law.
Yeah.
And that's obviously not within the course of law.
But I guess. But I think if I were to present, if something like that were present, actually, I don't know. If tapes were presented to me as a judge,
but they were never.
Right. Mm-hmm. I'm saying, but if they were, I could easily just, as a judge, now that I think about it, as a judge, and those tapes were presented to me as a defense, and it could literally be any tape, how do I know that it's not some guy like talking?
Exactly.
So, you know what I mean? Like,
so as a judge, would you be able, if that court case went further, as a judge, and you heard those tapes, and you heard and there was other support that Ed and Lorraine presented as demonic possession and reasoning for that, you would basically be saying, hey, in this court of law, under this legislation, ghosts and demons are real and they can kill people. That's what you're saying. That's essentially what you're saying. So you realize how big of a statement that is. That's what I was getting to. Like that's such a big statement. And that's what I wanted your opinion on. It's like I feel like that's such a huge thing that obviously I didn't feel like this plea would have worked in any regard because of that.
I don't even know if it worked.
I don't think it would work today.
Today, 2021, yeah.
No, I think
so. That was that was 30 years ago. 1981 was that trial case.
Yeah.
And so that was literally 30 years. And even to this day, that probably still like, because I don't think people like take demonic possession seriously.
Yeah, and it's there's so much refining in the world of law. And again, we are not lawyers.
Yeah.
So if we were wrong about something, we apologize.
Not sure.
We are just two dudes chopping it up, thinking what we think.
But like, I mean, I think it's still, even with that said, it's still creepy that those tapes are still like now that I think about it as a judge, having thought about it as a judge, I still don't know like if I'm
in the mindset.
Yeah, in the mindset of a judge, like
the closest we can.
Yeah, I don't fuck. Yeah, I'm gonna go and just like I just went to
judges.
Yeah, and I don't know. Still, like I couldn't take that into court.
But being the people we are.
Yeah.
If you are a fan of the paranormal,
I still wouldn't be able to like
go listen to these tapes.
Yeah.
If you're going to see the movie, wait till the end. If you are not going to see the movie and it's a hard no for you for any reason, but you're interested in the paranormal stuff, go look online for these tapes. They're terrifying.
Yeah.
In a way
It's
that like
creepy
in a
shit.
real life terrifying way.
Yeah. I mean, they're all so it's cool. I think what's dope about these is the fact that this is like all based off of true stories. Conjuring 2, they went and they offered their help in Conjuring 2, so they weren't even asked like the priest was.
Yeah.
Obviously, things are going to be fabricated in all three of these movies, but the fact that it is based on a true story is creepy.
Yeah, inspired by true events all throughout.
Yeah.
And that's what we wanted to get into in this episode, was kind of talking the differences we saw in the movie versus what we read up on the case about. So hopefully y'all enjoyed that. Something a little different we wanted to do because there was such a focus on the true life events that inspired the writing of this film.
And the fact that like they even played the tapes at the end of these movies is it means something. They're not just gonna play that shit if it's not like
I think it just added to the creep factor and the lore of the movie.
Yeah.
But we appreciate y'all for listening to this. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be having some more trailer breakdowns, so be on the lookout for those. Go and watch Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It, if you have not yet. It's a good movie. I really liked it. If you're a fan of the Conjuring movies, I think you'll enjoy it. So our last sponsor, or not our last sponsor we talked about in this episode. Let's talk
Brandon Jack.
Let's talk Brandon Jack and Just Be Kicking It. We got some new stuff to say about this. Go get your Just Be Kicking It gear on his Instagram. Go get some shorts. He's got some new shorts out. The baseball tees Justin's worn in other episodes. Those are out. He's also got all his other stuff that are out. Socks and t-shirts and everything. But the shorts are fire. I just got me a pair. I'll be wearing them in one of the trailer breakdowns. So just watch for that to see how good I look in those shorts. Because there's the comfiest shorts I got, and they're fire. But they got a podcast out too. The Just Be Kicking It podcast also. The first episode is out.
Yeah, they came out.
Yep.
Talk about Vanessa Bryant and
the family of Kobe Bryant's family and the sneaker struggle that's going on with sellers and the bots, everything. So go look out for that. But again, we appreciate y'all. Conjuring,
Peace,
Devil Made Me Do It.
All love.